Bruce Silverman, along with Tom Graham and Eric Mausner. Gentlemen, welcome into your very first show. You both look phenomenal. Just absolutely some of the best looking attorneys in South Florida.
Thanks, Bruce. We try to step it up when we can.
No, you know what? I would not want to be on the other side. How's that? And I was absent that day in law school. So it's all good. You two have very varied backgrounds. You come from different places. I'm curious, how did you guys team up to form this law firm?
Tom, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I'll talk about that. Well, funny enough, probably about 11, 12 years ago, I was working at the state attorney's office, and I was going to give a tour to a new prosecutor who was coming down from New York. I had heard, this guy worked in the DA's office up in Manhattan, wanted to move down to Miami. So lo and behold, it ended up being Eric that I met at the prosecutor's office when we were baby lawyers. I gave him a tour of the office. He came down, and we were both prosecutors basically at the same time. Eventually, I jumped off. I wanted to do civil law, and particularly, I've always wanted to do personal injury and death, the types of cases we do now. So I jumped off, and I joined a few very good firms and sort of worked my way up, learned the steps that it takes to be successful in this practice. And Eric did the same thing. Over the years, Eric went more quickly to start his own practice while I was at some established firms. So we worked together. He would get a challenging or a significant case, and we would work together. So we kind of had a history of doing cases together. We knew each other professionally. We were friends. And eventually there came a point in time where I realized I wanted to step off and do this on my own, have freedom, stand on my own 2 feet, and just meeting with friends, talking about it. Met with Eric to get his opinions on a good runway to make this happen. And he brought up the fact that we know each other. We have similar goals. We've worked on cases. Why don't we join forces? And the rest is history. And I would certainly say best decision I've ever made. And I've never been more professionally fulfilled.
Eric, it must be a very comfortable feeling to go to work every day, know that your partner is someone that you can truly trust. You guys have battled together. And, I'm fascinated by the fact that basically he was the guy that gave you a tour around the original building that creates a pretty good foundation for a law firm.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny how that happened. Call it coincidence, or maybe it was fate. Writing was on the wall back then. Who knows? But our careers took different paths, and then we intersected, like Tom said. We started working together, and then we really started exploring the idea of a partnership over the course of 1 to 3 years, maybe. It was not an overnight decision. We talk about that today. There's probably a few guys that we know in Florida that we would consider even bringing in or partnering with, right? It's like a marriage, if you will. It's not an easy decision. You want to go into business with someone you trust, you admire. I think Tom is as sharp as they come when it comes to litigators and trial lawyers. So, it's an ideal partnership in a lot of ways.
No, to me, it's fascinating. I love those, behind the scenes stories and the foundation stories and how things really come together. You have a very specialized firm. You specialize in personal injury and death, as Tom said. I know that it is something that you're both very, very passionate about. What I'm curious about is, why did you select this particular part of law? There's so many different places that you can go in law. And with the background that both of you had in prosecution, it's interesting that you found the other side of this.
Well, actually, so for me, I'm a third generation lawyer, Bruce. My grandfather and father are both lawyers. My late grandfather was a lawyer as well. They did real estate transactions, municipal representation, elder law, wills, trusts, and estates, those kinds of areas of law. I didn't want to touch those. When we were prosecutors, I made the conscious decision sitting around the office. What's the next move? I knew I wanted to be a personal injury lawyer about 10 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. So when I left the state, I said, I'm going to go find a job in personal injury. I did that. I went to work for a couple firms and then quickly realized, I want to start my own business. I had the entrepreneurial bug. I discovered that earlier on. So I hung my shingle when, A lot of lawyers might say it was too early, but I had the mentors around me. I had the resources around me. And this is 6-7 years ago now, Bruce. So there was no looking back, and it's grown every year. And then Tom jumped on board, and we've continued to grow with Tom and myself. So it's been great.
Tom, what's your background? You have a father and a couple of grandfathers and a niece and a nephew that were attorneys too?
No, actually, my mom was a second grade teacher. She's happily retired now. My dad was a police officer and sort of made his career in law enforcement. So I'm the first lawyer in the family. But the ironic part for me is, for whatever reason, in my young brain as a boy, this is always what I wanted to do. I must have seen a show about a lawyer, because since my earliest memory, I've wanted to be in a courtroom. And I think that being a plaintiff personal injury attorney is probably the most traditional type of trial attorney, or the most traditional type of attorney you can be. I mean, think back to guys like Abe Lincoln, who were sort of founding fathers in this type of a profession. No pun intended. The part that fascinates me and I think keeps me expanding is that every single day I'm learning something new. I'm working with cutting edge experts. For instance, if we're going to work on a complex medical malpractice case involving a stroke or a certain infection, I'm going to find the best guy on that subject matter at the best academic university, and he's going to educate me. So I get to learn, I get to work with masters in the field. It's almost like a sporting event in as much as every year you can improve, work on your skills. It's a competition because someone on the other side is fighting you and you're helping people out. To me, there are so many facets that make this job just every day exciting and something that you can grow and get better at every single day and every single year. There's nothing better to me.
Yeah. And Bruce, to build on that, really why personal injury? One, you get to help people, right? You're fighting the little guy. You're going up against insurance companies and corporations. Tom and I like being on that side of the equation. I couldn't see myself representing big business, big pharma, big insurance companies. I have no interest in doing that. We like giving the little guy access to the civil justice system, and that's how we view it. It's a nice way to work with clients. We don't bill up front either, right? We work on contingency, so we only get paid if we recover. It's high risk, high reward. It's entrepreneurial, but it aligns our interests with the clients, right? If we're incentivized to go and try to recover more money for our clients, and that's how we make a living to keep the lights on. So very few lawyers work that way, right? If you're hiring a family law attorney or an immigration lawyer or a bankruptcy lawyer, right? These lawyers typically need to be paid up front. Criminal defense, you get arrested. That lawyer needs to be paid up front so he can go to court and fight for you. We don't work that way. And I think it's a wonderful way to work with clients.
There are a lot of big personal injury law firms out there. You see them on TV, you see the billboards. What is the difference between Mausner Graham and some of the big boys?
So if you go to a high volume advertiser, billboards, the TV, radio, like you said, those firms are huge. They have thousands of clients. They have lots of lawyers. They have turnover rates, right? There's a bigger risk that you kind of get lost in the mix in a lot of those firms. So when you go to a smaller boutique shop, you get a lot of attention, and we want to keep it that way. We're selective in what we take. We want clients satisfied. We have a slogan in the office: there's no problems, there's only solutions. And are our clients satisfied? Do they understand the process? Are the expectations laid out clearly, right? We just had a client pop into our office today, and I asked them twice, have we answered all your questions? Do you understand this process? And if the answer is not no, then let's keep having a conversation. But we want it to be yes, and we want clients to know we care about them. We're making sure that they're treating and getting healthy. And that's the other thing about this business, right? It kind of gets lost. You get lost in the mix about money, right? But at the end of the day, we want our clients getting healthy. When you get injured, it's an opportunity to get healthy and a way to recover money. So we always remind clients like, hey, this is, get healthy first.
What is it, Tom, about Eric that so impresses you today, years after first meeting him?
So to begin, I would say that Eric and I have complementary but different skill sets and different personalities. And the thing that has always impressed me and that I think is really remarkable about him is his ability to connect with people on a social level and on a professional level and his ability to let people know that he's trustworthy, to come to him with significant problems, sometimes maybe the worst thing they're going through in their life, completely trusting him, and he's going to see them through the process and make sure that their case is handled. I think he's one of, if not the best connectors that I've ever met. And that's a skill set that is very rare in this business and very essential in this business. So I couldn't be happier about that.
Eric, your turn. Your thoughts on Tom.
Here's a fun fact about Tom. Tom got the highest score on the Florida bar exam in 2011. To me, like, who does that? I don't even know how you get that. He kicked everybody's ass taking that exam in 2011. So that off the bat to me is impressive. And that kind of tells you about Tom's legal mind. And I admire Tom's ability to do a lot of the heavy lifting, such as motion practice and depots. And that's what he loves doing. And Tom's very skilled at it. I love bouncing ideas off of him. What do you think of this case? What do you think of that legal issue? So, we do complement each other in a lot of ways when it comes to business and law.
Tom, you have some specialties within personal injury. Tell us a little bit about those.
Sure. Thanks, Bruce. My two specialties are in the fields of maritime law, which, to simplify it, it's basically an injury or a death that occurs at sea. And why I love that and why I'm so into that is because so much of it is in our backyard. Most of the major cruise line corporations are headquartered here in South Florida in Miami. And you actually agree when you go on a cruise, you're agreeing that if you're going to bring a lawsuit, you're going to do it here in the Southern District of Florida. So we have a lot of that work. We represent a lot of injured cruise line passengers and crew members. We also do other maritime. I mean, Florida is a boating capital of the world. So we're getting crew members that are injured on private yachts, people that get hurt on pleasure cruises, out fishing. It's very common, and it's a fascinating field. Particularly the cruise line world to me is really unique. There's a lot of human element, and anything that can go wrong on land happens out there at sea, and oftentimes even worse. The law is more intricate. It's much more detailed and much more challenging. All of those cases are in federal court, and they're, in my estimation, significantly harder to prove and to move forward than some of the state court type lawsuits we also do. My other niche that I'm fascinated with is medical malpractice. Those cases are really important because the damages are oftentimes so significant, so catastrophic, that you need to help these people to recover and to live the rest of their life after something horrible that's happened to them. So those two, maritime and medical malpractice, are my favorites. I do have a bit of a specialty in them. And ironically enough, sometimes they mix and you'll get medical malpractice that occurs at sea. And that's one of my favorite types of cases. So for instance, a passenger starts having a stroke while they're out on a cruise ship. What should the cruise line do to make sure that person gets the best chance for a positive recovery? And when they make a mistake, how do you hold them accountable? Those are just examples of maritime and medical malpractice kind of interfacing. And we do those types of cases all the time, every day.
Eric, same question to you. I know you have your subspecialties as well.
I like all areas of personal injury, and I'll fill in. Tom and I, we handle all areas of personal injury. Tom has a maritime federal background. A lot of lawyers don't have that. So we'll handle cases in federal and state court around Florida. Tom's also licensed in Pennsylvania. I'm licensed in New York, New Jersey, DC, and Florida. But I think if I had to narrow in a particular case I like, I enjoy negligent security cases and auto accidents. Negligent security cases kind of lets us put our former prosecutor hats on. Tom knows I like the investigation component of a case. I like when there's a criminal component and how that intersects with the civil lawsuit. So we have as ex-prosecutors, we have a unique understanding of the criminal process and evidence and how that plays out in civil court. A lot of lawyers who don't have that background may not have that understanding of the complete picture. And it's helpful when you have, for example, a DUI accident, right? A drunk driver causes an injury. There's going to be a criminal case and there's going to be potentially a civil case, a claim or a lawsuit. And how these two interact with each other and play out, it's helpful to explain to clients and to walk them through the process when you have a good understanding of both of them. So I enjoy auto and negligent security cases.
Gentlemen, what you do is so very, very important to the clients that you work with, especially the passion that you bring and the compassion that you bring to your clients. And that is something that is so very, very important. In the coming weeks and months, we're going to get more in depth. We're going to get to know Tom and Eric even more, what they do, how they do it, their successes, their process, their firm, and everything. So stay tuned. More episodes to come. This is a law firm that, if you need this type of legal service, is one to definitely contact and get to know. Tom Graham and Eric Mausner, the principals of Mausner Graham Injury Law. Thanks so much, gentlemen, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.